And good afternoon and welcome to Straight Talk. This is Catherine Tyson, your host, and you are now tuned into Straight Talk, your Drive to Five show. Welcome to the show this afternoon. This is generally our Wellness Wednesday show, but today we will be speaking to a political candidate. Of course, they are busy, so we're just waiting for them to show up, and then we'll be having that conversation with you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the show. Of course, I'd love to hear from you, 943-3700, or email us at straighttalk at star927kman.ky. Would love to hear what's on your mind. I know you guys are very shy. Trust me, I get it. But you know what? Call, say something, whatever's on your mind, yeah? Because we have to change, I think we have to change the culture. Let's change the culture a bit and not be afraid to speak our minds or not be afraid of someone saying, you know who that is? Because you know we're good for that and come on, you got to stop that madness too, right? If you were somewhere else, you'd be like, I'll call. No one knows my voice. Unfortunately, I can't even shop somewhere and speak because as soon as I speak, people turn around and go, I know that voice. So you see how lucky you are that people aren't doing that to you. Yeah, the hazard of the job, isn't it? Welcome to Straight Talk and Drive Five show. You guys are now either sailing through or somewhere caught up in traffic. I've seen no traffic. People are still on Easter time, vacation, whatever that is. Let me tell you, it's been awesome, and we're kind of in that flow, right? So I can tell you, it is something something else. And as soon as I get in the seat, we are going to start this conversation. But before that, let's chat this a little bit. Got some daily motivation. It is more rewarding to watch money change the world than to watch it accumulate. That's Gloria Tynan. I love that quote. It is one of the quotes that, as I seen it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is awesome because absolutely, right? It is more rewarding to watch money change the world than watch it accumulate. And we've been having like conversations. I wanted money, like money, like you're a billionaire, okay. It's not enough. When did it become enough, right? And so not going to take it with us. That more ways to watch money change the world than to watch it accumulate. And another quote that I love: "Life is like a tree," and I said this to you guys before, and I think it's very fitting for today. Life is like a tree, and its root is consciousness. Therefore, once we tend the root, the tree as a whole will be held by Deepak Chopra. We look at the tree and we just take the beauty of it that how does it start? Where I'm going to say again at this point, because now the surprise is no longer. I'm going to let you in on the secret. Is Wayne Panton. Good afternoon, Wayne Panton. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Catherine. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you.
Say that one more
Yes,
time.
good afternoon again. Thank you for allowing me to be with you and speaking to your listeners in our wonderful, fantastic Cayman Islands.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Wayne, I had to add again because you've been on this dance before, yeah. And in
Yep.
fact,
Yep.
you were actually a representative of the Cayman Islands. So you were a minister. In fact, so I think we'll talk a little bit about that
Super.
as well as
Sure.
you're back again.
Mhm.
I saw a quote of yours that I want to kind of lead you in on this conversation. We do not have the right to ensure our own prosperity today. at the expense of children. A legacy upon which they can build for their children. If elected, I'm committed to continuing my focus work for my. I love that because I think it's really passing through, right? So
We're all only here for a time. It's our obligation to be good stewards, and it's our obligation to provide a foundation upon which our children can build their own foundations and continue and leave a legacy for their children and so on. And that is the kind of thing that drives me and motivates me. I'm not interested in ego driven approaches. I am not in general in the lives of everybody that I about accumulation of money and all this sort of stuff. This I had a long career in the private sector. Um, I I did I was privileged life. That's not what drives you. What drives you is and what makes a difference is waking up every day and thinking how can I make somebody. I ended up doing law by accident more than by design. Um, I was much more of a science-oriented person, but it was, it was something I grew to love. But getting really immersing all the various complex issues and the problems that people have in their daily lives. Yeah, those are the types of things that really reach into your soul and make a difference. And you realize that that's where the real value of life is.
yeah, I mean, I think it becomes so complicated and it's simple, right? It becomes complicated after a while. I'm a social worker. Obviously, to ensure that everybody has something, right? And enough. And, fortunately, everybody doesn't want the same thing.
Right.
So there are some people who really want this amazing, mansion and, four cars and, money in the bank. And there's people, they just want something to eat every night. They just want a little chair to sit in.
Comfortable
They're
bed.
comfortable on their porch,
Yeah.
watching
Nice
the kids work at table,
Mhm.
and that some aren't suffering while others are just lavishing.
Right.
That to me is where the
Yeah.
problem lies.
People have when in my 30 years in an office. There are things that I regret. I regret probably putting as much work in as I did. But unfortunately, uh, oftentimes these things are part of hindsight,
Right.
and at the time you're trying to be a good employee, full whatever profession you're in. In my case, it was a lawyer, and you're trying to help your clients. You're trying to satisfy the desires of your clients. Really, um, the worst thing that can happen to you is later in life when you realize that there are lots of other things that could have been greater priorities. I probably had an unfortunate, a very terrible way of being reminded what's really important in life. But it has helped me to understand that, and it is part of what drives me to want to help other people, to ensure that they recognize and I absolutely believe that if we can become successful while at the same time supporting other people, supporting our young people in particular, then we are whatever level of success we're aiming for. If we achieve that while we're accomplishing that, then you're truly achieving something. You're truly um, successful.
Right. And obviously you're talking about the loss of your child. Yeah.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
was a major thing that anybody can just imagine. The thing is, I want to talk to you about a few things today. I, I,
Sure.
I want to talk to you about the fact that you were a representative, and to talk
Hmm.
about some of the accomplishments, because that's what I've been talking about for the last few weeks, just leading up to this, that people can make their decisions based on a lot of things. They don't have to feel like they have to give a vote to this particular person because I've been doing this before, or because they put a turkey on my door, or whatever. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I got one,
There you go.
right? But at the end of the day, it's about using your brain
Yeah.
and figuring it out. And what I've said is, people that have been in before, they have a track record. So
Yeah.
so all people are connected to or attached to, when they get into that house, they need to be able to work together,
Hmm.
which is a struggle for me. It's an absolute struggle, right? And so, not just promises during campaign, but when you get in, and you didn't get in with all the people you wanted to get in with your party. Big deal. You now have a country to run.
Hmm.
So for us to sit and watch for 4 years, people fussing and can't figure it out, or can't
Yep.
place the right people in the right places, is so counterproductive. And so, whose interests are you really going for? The interest of the country, or an ego thing, or what is
Yeah.
it? So I
Yeah.
kind of want to just talk about a couple of those things. So let's talk about you, when you were in, and some of the things that you were able to do, because I thought you did amazing, and everybody thought so as well.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I did work hard. I was those people that, and I wasn't alone. There was a couple of colleagues that sort of were run out of the. And sometimes if we had to stay later and get some stuff done, for the first thing in the morning, we'd go turn the lights back on,
Right.
and that meant probably 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock before we got home. Point two, in all of those areas, that that you aren't making sure that you're there for the people as their then there's some things that are a bit beyond my control because of the amount of trips and traveling and um, that we had to do both to the UK, to Brussels in Europe, to even Germany, the United States, go to Washington, Capitol Hill, Miami, all over the place. There were some times where we were traveling 7 times a year,
Right.
and that tends to keep you out of off the ground. And out of nationally as well as my community. I've got to make sure I've got the time and the effort and the mechanisms in place to support people.
Okay, so you're recognizing that's kind of where, and I'm looking at the results now. Looks like 33 to 418. Is that the
Yeah.
difference? Like
So
the
yeah,
difference of like what? How
I
many?
lost
How
by
many?
15 votes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
yeah.
so I was interviewing a lady from New York a few years ago on my talk show, and she said I want to find those 15 people. And I just thought about that, like because it was really that close, right? Yeah.
Well, I guess
So
technically it was 8 people. If 8 people had voted the other way,
okay,
I would have won by 1 vote. But,
okay.
yeah, it was. Listen, I took it. I didn't fault people because I knew that I had contributed a lot nationally, but I also knew and you know the workload that I was carrying at the time, I don't think there was one legislative session that I had less than probably 50% of the agenda. And in some cases it was 75, 80%. That's a lot of work to have to prepare for, get everything lined up and, do the presentations and discuss comments from the other side and discuss whether we're going to agree um, um, changes.
It almost feels like when we're hearing this whole thing now, it almost feels like it's a little unfair to expect that a person that is a minister that is carrying out entry representing everybody on a national level. Like imagine, like
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is because you're handling that, it's like when dad goes out to work and the kids inside are saying, well, he doesn't care about us. Well, he
Yeah,
goes to work every day, and the money that he makes is what makes mom makes the house run. So it's almost a little unfair, you know what I mean? But I guess still lessons.
See how you perform
Right.
at that level. There are others who look more to the community side,
Yeah.
and they want to see you doing things in the community. They want to see you engaging with constituents.
Right.
And for me, I think I learned a lesson in relation to that. That's why our focus and our platform is Community Creates Country, and I've committed that I'm going to spend half my effort, not necessarily time, but I'm going to make sure that I have the staff and I've had an office in Savannah for the last 4 years that's been open, staffed by myself and Miss Heather Bodden, and we're going to continue that. It's going to also be able to deal with national issues. This is assuming, of course, that I get elected and assuming that I'm a part of the government.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm proud of the accomplishments that we had last time. I'm proud of the team that I work with, who were some very, very dedicated people. Um, there were people who even left the private sector to come. This is something they needed to contribute to,
Okay.
and some people to have people who feel like it's more important for them to actually be able to give back to the country,
Right.
and to help provide the same opportunities that they have benefited from.
Yeah. What would be better than current law?
Observed in terms of that has I have seen, I've heard the views of other constituents, and surprisingly, to me, um, that may work in other
Did you
constituents.
leave me a turkey on my door?
No, I didn't.
Well, and someone did.
I didn't leave you a turkey.
And I live in Newlands. Because
I know,
you
I know
actually you're talking to one
right.
so and I think
You
what's
live in the heart of
interesting,
Newlands too.
I do,
So
right in the middle. So the thing that's very interesting with this, like you said, the last time it was the beginning of single member constituencies, and so you were actually up against an actual member, right? Because I think both of you were in the government, right? Or you were both representatives.
we were both in government in the same, well, in we were both members of the Progressives,
Right.
and we were, I think he was counselor to a couple of ministers, and I was a minister, and I had other counselors as well myself.
And then went up against you then as an independent.
Yes, well, he left the party.
That's how you ended up going up against each other.
Right. So he left the party.
I'm just trying to keep up and keep the listeners up to
making a lot of
speed
speculation about things that were completely untrue and things that he never, ever, ever substantiated. And it basically initiated a smear campaign against me. I won't bother to go into the details of it, but
Right.
there are certain things I can't change the color of my skin, and people have a perception when you haven't had the opportunity to talk to people face to face. People can form, and people can rely on other representations as to who somebody really is.
Right.
And there was a lot of that went on. People know a lot different now, and I think you can't try to fool everybody in the same way again. It just doesn't may work one time, but it's not going to work the same way again.
Well, I think what's good, what kind of works in anyone's favor, and particularly yours, because I'm speaking with you, is how visible you've been this entire 4 years. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of voters, their complaints that people do riding a bike during coronavirus, dropping off stuff. Like I was like, I think that's Wayne on that bike. When we get a step out with the people that work on that stuff. So yeah, so you kind of continued that.
Yeah.
The whenever the roads are getting fixed, is that kind of you pushing that kind of stuff?
You know, I'm not gonna take credit for that. I think the National Roads Authority, they typically have a program that they're working to. Um, they sometimes, the government sometimes allows representatives to come in and indicate priorities. My understanding, current incumbent, or the current incumbent, is that he never had the opportunity to go and make these representations to government. So then I would assume, if that's the case, then the NRA was acting on their own priorities. We have a lot of people from the NRA, and we have people who sit on the community and works to make a difference in the lives of everybody. So they're shared initiatives. I'm not going to take away credit from some of the things that may have been done, but I will reflect the views of a lot of other constituents, which is that they really didn't see a lot happening. I'm not saying that it wasn't something,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I think from a constituency and a community perspective, of building the community and making it beautiful and doing beautification projects and addressing cleanup of the parks. And parts of the country which reflect a failure in planning, a long-term failure in planning. But it's more difficult for the solutions are more difficult for places like Newlands because we're lower lying. Um, so drainage is an issue. When we have a lot of heavy rains, we don't, our ability for the deep wells to drain off that water disappears after about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, it has definitely improved, though. I can tell you that.
It has improved.
Yeah.
But it, I think you have to recognize as well through the heavy rains. When that happens, that's when your real problems start.
Yeah, I'm going to take a quick break, though, but we'll be back with more. You're listening to Straight Talk. And stay tuned. We'll be back with more Straight Talk. All right, so you can And welcome back to Straight Talk. This is Catherine Tyson, and this is your Drive at Five show. And we are talking to political candidate Wayne Panton, no stranger to the public because he actually was a representative. He was actually a minister, and so he's joined us this afternoon to talk about his him throwing his hat in the ring again this time to get back his seat, basically. Welcome again, Wayne, and thank you for joining me this afternoon. So, Wayne, I had a question had come in from the general public, and the
Mhm.
person is listening for an answer. So I just wanted to give that to you. The question is, were you referring to the PPM house or the PPM headquarters house when you said you had an office? And so a while back, and I
Mhm.
think you had clarified that for me. So maybe you might want to just
Yeah,
clarify
sure.
that.
If that office was never actually paid for by the PPM, I rented the office, and I've been renting the office for the last 4 years to provide a community office to Savannah and Newlands. And actually, to be honest, it served residents from East End to North Side to West Bay. Um, we even had a situation where a lady came from, she came into the office and said, "I'm just off the flight from Cayman Brac. I need you to help me with this and this." So, we have been there helping people from all over the whole island.
Right.
And,
Okay.
part of the issue I think has been that we have, with single member constituencies, we have too many members who have not actually opened their own office, a representative office
Right.
in their constituency. And, so there are limited numbers of members who actually have offices. And that, I think, contributes to people sort of looking around, trying to figure out who can help them and what they can help them with.
Right. Right.
I mean, Heather and I do documentation, and I mean, we were never busier than when we had to deal with things like the pension withdrawals and all that was initiated last year.
Okay.
So we had to do a lot of documentation around that, and then there's the usual documentation of Caymanians having to prove that they're Caymanian.
Right.
As strange as that may sound,
Well, I tell you, I've seen it a lot.
and yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I find sort of annoying, and I can't see why we can't address the issue. If we can have uh, a, a non a Caymanian who's a first generation Caymanian, they're Caymanian by operation of law, we have to produce 5 or 6 different documents and
Ridiculous.
have it notarized and sworn and everything to prove that we're Caymanians.
It's ridiculous,
So
especially when we're making the laws, right?
yeah, I just don't understand why we can't resolve that issue for everybody. And I'm hoping that the initiative around the national identity card will have built-in provisions which help to resolve that issue, right?
Okay.
So that if you've got a national ID, you only and that says you're a Caymanian,
Right.
that should be good enough. Right?
Okay. So, and I'm listening to you. I'm hearing all of this stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, so are you the next premier then, Wayne Panton? Because guess what? When I'm not making this up.
Yeah, I heard those types of comments as well. And to be honest, my attitude has always been that I will serve the country to the best of my ability in the best way that I can. Um, it's not, I don't have, it's not on my bucket list. It's not on my agenda. It's not on my wish list. Um, but I have no um, limits, no restrictions on our country in the best way possible. So if I have, if there are a collection of representatives who think that I can best serve as being premier, then I'm not going to say no to them. I have. That's not the case at all. I got engaged. I re-engaged in politics because I was disappointed with the level of representation we have, both at a constituency level, but also nationally on the broader national issues, in terms of conduct, in terms of behaviors, in terms of you know our ability to hold ourselves up as role models to our young people.
And would that explain kind of your split from PPM? Because obviously you've had a very long relationship with PPM. So that would be my question.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean
Okay.
that was a very public thing. It's been public recently, and it's been public back then, a year ago. I mean, truth be told, I felt that they were a little bit adrift in terms of understanding the perspective. Party secretary, I had a call from another media house saying, "Hey, I heard that you just resigned." Yeah, so maybe they thought I was going to go public with it, and they were trying to preempt it.
Okay.
That clearly sort of backfired on them, I think.
Yeah. So how confident are you that the that they will work with you, depending on who becomes say in the event that the PPM, or what is the new thing, the Alliance, the Alliance Party. I can't keep up. I personally can't keep up. But in the event that you are successful, or when you're elected,
they asked me to rejoin the Progressives, and that was in October. It was before the December trial of the speaker. And at the time, I said, "Look, nothing has changed. You have not demonstrated anything to me which would cause me to." For our communities. I'm not interested in attacking people and bad mouthing people, but they don't seem to take the same approach, which has been kind of disappointing, to be perfectly honest. But I will say, getting back to your original question, there are good people ever in good and the greater public good. But I'm confident that there are people that I can work with, and we can achieve the best for the country.
Right. So you don't have an issue with party. You don't have an issue with party. You had an issue with the way the party handled some things.
Listen,
because you were a part of a party. So I just want to be clear on that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, right now I have a team of three that we share a platform. So That's myself for Newlands, and Miss Heather Bodden for Savannah, Mr. Osmond Bodden for Town East. Um, let me just say that I believe in organized politics. I believe that's the way you accomplish things. Um, but I also believe that we're not going to have, and we had just like we had last government, we're not going to have in this government that we see on April 15th, or April 16th, whatever it takes. I don't think it's going to take long. Um, you're not going to see a party-led or a party-controlled government at that point. Um, and that's going to be my perspective. I'm not interested. I will work with individuals, irrespective of what color their shirts have been,
Right.
If they're good people and if they will contribute to the best interests of the country as a whole.
Right.
But if their attitude is, you get on board with us and you do what we say, or it's nothing, then maybe it's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to presuppose or anything, make any prejudgment on that at this point. But that's not something that I'm going to be interested in particularly considering.
Okay.
I want to, and I believe that there are other people, and I've had conversations with numerous other people who I think are prepared to work together for the country as a whole.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to have the situation we had last time, where we had a lot of ego-driven proposals and initiatives. And interestingly, but there were certain two members of Parliament at the time who basically issued an ad a week or two before the election. With of the government. The great thing for us as a country is that they performed very well in turn, didn't introduce politics into the recommended approach and the protocols that were recommended for the country in terms of the pandemic. So I'm going to give them credit there.
Right.
Our challenge is to make sure that we get the transition correct now, where we start trying to move back into a more normal economy by reopening our borders.
Yeah.
And the challenge there is to make sure that you're conservative and you don't make any mistakes and you don't cause any problems, because Lord knows we have example after example around the world of big developed countries that have made a disaster of the whole thing. And unfortunately for us as well, we've got to be careful. The US is making a lot of progress on their vaccine rollout, thankfully, um, and even so is the UK. Even though the UK handled the situation so badly initially, um, so there's a lot of reason to be optimistic that we're going to have the opportunity over the coming rest of this year, perhaps into the early part of next year, to start getting a normalized economy, and getting the world sort of back to normal. Recognizing that with the new sense of urgency, that there are these kinds of risks out there. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I was aware of epidemics. I was aware of the possibility of pandemics. I learned about the 1918 pandemic, but of it to the point that person that was my uncle was traveling with me, and I even got us our own little sanitation kits and stuff, and so I was conscious of it then. I was conscious of the risk of it, but I just never expected it to explode in such a pandemic way.
And it's still going.
Yeah, and it's still going, and
Yeah.
and we have. I mean, we're really blessed. We live in this bubble right now, and that has been created by people sticking to the recommended protocols,
Right.
and by the government doing what was necessary to put the politics aside, and follow the proper medical protocols.
Yeah.
So we have to be grateful for that. The people of the country can be proud of what they have achieved, but the it's a pain. I My view is, if you're dying, you're not buying, right? So
Right.
forget. Let's focus on life first and make sure that people aren't put at risk unnecessarily.
Right.
Yeah, but I think there is an attempt right now to say that there's only one government or one composition of membership, a government that could achieve something like this. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah.
I believe that there are very responsible people who are engaged in politics right now, who could follow the same kind of recommended protocols, and who could take the position that politics doesn't really play death
Right.
is permanent.
Right.
So we can weather it. And I will tell you that I'm proud that I was a part of the government, or a government, I should say, because I don't think it's the same government. I don't think it's the same approach, back in 2013 to 2017, that turned around this country, restored democracy, restored the financial position of the country, and generated lots of reserves, which the country is now benefiting from, in order to be able to help people, and to weather, to afford the ability to buy these tests, and to do the other things that we're doing. And I think I don't think that this government, as it is the only one could possibly have done that.
And to
I've heard that too
me,
many times. I
and
don't
to
know.
me, you what how I would have wanted you to say that, or how I need you to say that, is I was a part of the government that did this, because it's the truth. It
Yeah.
is the truth. Like, there is no, there's no need for you to feel like, okay, I gotta say this in some humble way. Listen, it's a big deal because from 2013 to 2017, what the government looked like, what our country looked like versus 2017 to now is very, very different.
Mhm.
Very, very different in terms of democracy, in terms of us as a people and how we feel. So you know what? Like toot your own horn. Like absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You're such a nice guy, right? Like I can't help that. So question.
Sure.
And so the question for novices like myself who said, you know what, I want to be a part of this, I want to be a part of change, and I want to be voted into my country, but I don't know what I'm going to do the first day. But that's where I was, right? In
Mhm.
that position. Didn't get voted in, not a problem. I'm coming back. But you were in. What will you do? What's your plan? What is your priority for our,
Yeah, I do know what it looks like, and
and you know what
we
it
we
takes?
yeah, we went in. I told you already about the had to be. This is something that we'll have to see how the election turns out. But I think that there are enough capable people So, yet, obviously, a major challenge is where are we with the plans in terms of a transition to reopening our borders, to reestablishing some degree of tourism, and that's going to have to be
Right.
have to calibrate that very carefully. But we can, and it again, it depends exactly on what the picture looks like. Rates and even and that's going to be followed by increases in death rates.
Right.
So until that sort of volatility settles down, and we get to a position where we feel that we can calibrate our reopening carefully, that doesn't put our country at risk. And to people in the country, if there is any kind of change in government, if there is a change in composition of the government, different bits, different groups. I want them to understand and have the confidence that have to continue to have to rise to the occasion to address those challenges. I've certainly been there, done that, have the experience, and know how to address those types of issues. Um, but it's it's something that we've got to be very careful about. We don't certainly don't we need to rely on financial services, because that's the thing that's really working for us right now. And of course, the other thing is government, particularly because of the work that was done in the 2013 to 17 administration. Government is in a great financial position where we can make sure that our people are protected, and our people are helped to the extent necessary. Um, there is no magic bullet. If we are open and transparent with the country and utilize what I believe will be the skill, the knowledge, and the correct approach and attitude of the representatives in the country at the I think certainly have your interests at heart. I have the interests of your community, our community that we both share at heart. That's, as I said to you, is one of my priorities, is to make sure that my community and our standard of quality of life. Those national issues that impact us, like traffic and employment for Caymanians, getting our young Caymanians, for example, opportunities so that they can get trained and get experience and stop having people say to them, "Oh, we can't give you job because that's kind of a known thing.
We
that
didn't have it when we were 18.
yeah,
We
you've got
wouldn't
to
have a
have
team.
yeah. Somebody has to
Exactly.
start somewhere.
Exactly.
So if that means we have to incentivize companies to do that, then we do that, right? But yeah, I'm about making our community great, making it beautiful, improving our quality of life, but attacking the national issues that we need to improve across the whole country, so that not only is our community of Newlands as great and as wonderful as it can be, but so is every other one in the country.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so on April 14th,
April 14th, go out, vote. Number 3 on the ballot, Wayne Panton for Newlands.
and how
I
can they
am from
reach
Newlands.
you?
I am of Newlands, and I want to continue to be a part of Newlands as the member of Parliament for Newlands.
And you will continue regardless. How can they reach you?
My email address is wpanton@candw.ky. That tells you how old that email address is, right? Yeah, Flo hasn't kicked me off yet. So that's on all the cards that I hand out to people, and I have no problem putting that out there. And I love to talk to young people about the issues and concerns that are relevant to them, because those are the kinds of issues that matter to me too.
Well, thank you so much, Wayne. We've gone over obviously a lot to say, a lot of information in the constituency of Newlands. You've got yourself out there and looking forward to some good returns. Thank you so much for joining me this
I will be
afternoon.
delivering, my dear.
And thank you all so much for Oh,
So maybe he's here